how it will be.
Welcome back to The Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Talking to good friend Bob Loeser. He's a regular on The Price of Business. Love talking to him about what's going on out there. Got to spend a little bit of time talking about the political front in last segment. We get to keep him one more. Talk about what's happening on the business front. By the way, you can always reach him at taxmanbob at pdq.net.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So
let's go back just like 2 minutes back to politics. All right, heck with what I do for a living. I mean, I just think we could write a satire on it. I think. The other issues, of course, to this is the Fox narrators of the debate, all right, and how they came. Again, I thought they came after Trump. I like really Megyn Kelly as a reporter. She does.
Certainly pleasant to look at.
She does a great job. And watched the last couple nights because of the Ferguson outbreak again. It's like a rash. Did somebody say that in this room? But I think they did come after Trump for that very reason, to see again whether it stuck or whether it rolled down his back, and it sort of just rolled down his back. I mean, he really didn't care. And I thought it was at times polite. He said, well, I like him, or I've donated to. He said, when haven't you donated to somebody asking for a favor? So if I need a favor from, well, what favor did you get from Hillary? She came to my wedding. Okay. I mean, so what's wrong with that? I mean, they tell you to keep your enemies close to you, right?
Right.
So that's exactly what he's done in business. So there's something wrong with that?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Okay, now he didn't know what they were funding the foundation with and what they were using the money for, all right? And that didn't come out until recently. But again, is Trump supposed to know that? He doesn't have eyes in the board.
I don't know. I personally would do my homework before I donated to the Clinton Foundation.
Right.
And so I don't know. I think he's an interesting phenomenon. I think he's way smarter than they give him credit for. I think so much of what he does is refreshing and needed. I am worried about him, in his engaging with other foreign leaders.
Correct.
When he becomes, if he became president. I am afraid of him becoming a mega isolationist, and I don't mean that so much in foreign policy, but in terms of a protectionist is exactly what I mean.
Correct.
Becoming a protectionist, lots of barriers, and trade deals and that type of thing. But I tell you, there's a big part of me that clearly sees he is so refreshing and so needed.
Right.
And both sides, Bernie Sanders is doing a little bit of shakeup over there, but he is doing such a good job of shaking up the debates. They're becoming, in spite of how crazy they are, the conversation is more like the conversation should have always been, dealing with big boy issues and not pretending we don't have cancer when we do have a $20 trillion debt.
Correct.
And so that's kind of how I look at it.
Correct. And then the other issue with watching, 1 year anniversary of Ferguson, what's the anniversary for? This kid went into a liquor store. He robbed it. He roughed up one of the clerks. Yeah. He walked out. He grabbed a gun, and he's a hero.
Gentle giant.
Okay.
Really?
He's a hero. Okay. And it's unfortunate for the family. And recently, what was it, up in Arlington, the shooting that took place, right? But the kid went on a dealership, kicked in a window of a Jeep, all right, drove his vehicle through the gates and then through the front window. When was asked to stop, he didn't, and he was shot 4 times.
What do you do?
And please.
And we don't know what he has. As far as we know, he may have been armed.
Please don't tell me he was an honor roll student and never left the house. I mean, we know better by just the video that we saw. And this bit, and I think people in general, and it has nothing to do with black and white, and green and tall and short and the whole bit. They all know better that these people don't represent whatever race or culture we're talking about.
No, they don't.
But when you watch Ferguson, my first response is, don't you people have jobs? I mean, no disrespect, but don't you have anything better to do?
I got to get up in the morning. What do you do?
There was one guy, and I don't know if you saw it, there was a reporter by the name of Jenkins that was walking around, and all of a sudden there was sort of a clash between two groups. And he got close enough to find out that there was a 55-year-old war veteran, white, who came up to this group because the kids had taken a flag and put it on the ground and started spitting and kicking and whatnot, okay? My response to that is, if you don't like this country, the door's there. Go find your own island, okay? Govern your own self. You got what's best right now. Make it better, all right? But don't complain that you're shortchanged. We're all shortchanged. Make it better.
Yeah.
Give us some advice as how to make it better. And it's not like getting rid of all the cops or doing whatever, okay? The cops are here to protect you. If they weren't there and you called and said, 911, there's a break-in there, and the cops said, I got better things to do tonight, call us back tomorrow. Then what would it be? All right, but then when you rush there and get there and something happens and there's a shooting, it's the cop's fault.
Exactly. And we pay these guys to protect us.
Correct.
We want the best people to do it. You know what? You continue to have the police not taken care of when they have to do something like this. They have to do something in a violent sort of way, and they end up being thrown in jail because of what ends up happening. You're only going to get the worst type applying for those jobs.
Right.
I personally, if I were in law enforcement, I would resign today. Even in a town that's far more moderate like Houston, in its temperament, I would probably resign today just because to me it doesn't seem to be safe for cops.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I believe that there's too much going on with cops. I believe that the kind of machinery they use is often inappropriate. Mm-hmm. I do think that there's civil right abuse going on, not only among minorities but in general.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong, but at the same time, there's got to be limits. You look at the DNA. The kid who was killed a year ago, his blood is all over that gun. That shows you how close they were.
Right.
It was literally a choice between the kid and the cop.
Exactly.
And that cop's career is ruined. He can't get hired by anyone.
Right.
His wife, who worked for the same law enforcement agency, had to quit her job as well. Right. Neither one of them hireable by anyone, because once this story comes up, those people are being stalked for life. And I love what you said about these kids, who are getting killed for committing acts of violence. They're not model citizens for any group, yet this group is claiming them like they're model citizens, really bringing down the reputation of that group.
Correct.
They should distance themselves, not embrace them.
And when political leaders say, one of them said Black Lives Matter and someone said All Lives Matter, and then had to retract it and say Black Lives Matter. And somebody last night on Fox
Wasn't
said...
it the guy from Maryland who
Martin
said that?
O'Malley, they're about as big a liberal Democrat as you can get.
Exactly. And he's a white guy.
Exactly.
My life don't matter.
And so one of the guys, they were talking to an attorney from Seattle, a black attorney, and so the guy asked, he said, so white lives don't matter? And there was a pause, and he said, well, no, he didn't say that. Well, why do only black lives matter, but when you say white lives matter or all lives matter, it's offensive?
Yeah.
All right? All lives should matter in this case. And I've talked about this with kids we have. I've told my kids, if you're approached by a police officer, you do certain things. I don't care if you got a chip on your shoulder, you did nothing wrong, you listen to them out, how can I help you? Hey, if you need to make a phone call, you call your parents or whatnot, okay? But don't put yourself in a situation that the cop's going to look at it and go, little wise-ass rich kid, or whatever, okay? Or, kid from the ghetto. I mean, that's how you get yourself into those situations, is by making that wrong first step.
By the way, and also tell your kids to never make a statement until they get lawyered up. Cops they're not in the justice business, they're in the conviction business.
Right.
The entire legal system is in the conviction business. 25% of the world's prisoners are in the United States of America, even though we only have 5% of the population. Right. There's something amiss, folks. Right. You need to protect your kids. Tell your kids to shut up until they talk to a lawyer.
And we got to protect the borders.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
That's true.
Can we talk about tax now? Can we, Uncle Bill?
He tells me we're out of time. Well, can you do it in a couple of minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, quickly. We talked about over the last couple months the IRS, that conservative group led by the Republicans. I had 8 clients that had $20,000 refunds or more not given back in the 6 to 8 week period that they were promised by the government back in February. And of those 8, I think 4 of them have gotten their refunds, but those refunds were like 13, 14 weeks. All right. Now, again, if you were on the other side and had a $1,200 refund, you were given that in 3 weeks.
Yep.
All right, for all that. So, I mean, just as a reminder, everybody's got for their businesses until September 15th to file their corporate partnership returns. They've got until October 15th if they haven't filed their personal returns. I recommend that they get them in early, particularly if they do have money, because, again, if you're going to have to wait 12, 14 weeks for your refund and you file it in October, you're not going to get it until just before Christmas.
Got to wrap it up with that. My good friend, Taxman Bob Loeser, taxmanbob at pdq.net. And as always, good to see you, buddy.
Great to see you.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. 2 segments. All right, when we come back, much more for you right here on Your Price of Business.
There's one for you, 19 for me. 'Cause I'm the tax man.